In the last video, we ran the following command to generate our bundle file using Webpack. We were able to give it the file where our application starts, and it went through app.js. It found the things we required, and it bundled all of that together into bundle.js. And if you actually take a second to open up bundle.js, it's a pretty crazy file. It's not meant to be read by regular people. But if you scroll to the bottom, you can kind of get an idea of what's happening. Right here, you do see some code we've written, even though everything around it looks pretty different. That's the bundle.js file we created before, but our application uses JSX and ES6, so we need to switch how we run Webpack. Instead of running Webpack from the terminal and giving an input and output file, we need to specify a config file where we can pass in various plugins like Babel. So in order to do this, we have to make a new file right inside of Hello React, in the root of the project, and it needs to be called webpack.config.js. The naming here is important. And all this file does is it exports an object, and that object lets you configure what Webpack does. So starting things off is simple. Module.exports equals an object. And now we're just going to specify a few properties. One of the main properties is entry. This tells Webpack where it should start processing your code. In this case, our entry, like we have over here in the terminal, is the public app.js file. So I'm going to set entry equal to in strings ./public/app.js. All right, now the second thing we need to do is specify the output. Right now our output is in public bundle.js, and we're going to keep that the same. The output is a little more confusing than the input. In order to properly do it, we need to set it equal to an object. And on that object, we want to set two properties. First up is the path to the folder. And inside of Node.js, we can use dir name, and that gives us the path to the current folder. And then from that folder, we can specify the file name ./public/bundle.js. Just like that. And with this in place, we've now mimicked the functionality from before. There's just one more attribute to add, resolve. Resolve is going to take an extensions array. And this extensions array is going to be a list of file extensions that we want to be able to process. So for example, in here we require a JS file, but we're able to leave off the JS extension. We can tell it we want to find ones with no extension. We want to find files that have a .js extension. And finally, to prepare for future videos, files that end in JSX. Now we can go ahead and run Webpack from the terminal without all of this other stuff. All you have to do is run Webpack, hit enter. Webpack is going to go through the config, and it's going to grab everything and spit everything out. And here you can see it found our public app.js file. It found one hidden module. That hidden module is components greeter.js. Remember, it grabs everything and puts it in bundle. And lastly, it dumps all of this into public bundle.js. And if I run from the terminal node server.js and fire up the server, I can head into my browser, go to localhost 3000, and you can see from greeter function still prints to the screen. And this is awesome. We were able to simplify the command we have to run in order to generate our bundle file. Using the config, we can keep the command we have to type a lot of times simple, and we can keep the complex stuff in a file that we only have to fill out once. And this is the basics of the Webpack config file. Now, all we've done so far is taken the existing functionality we had in the last video, and we've moved it into the config file. And by running Webpack, Webpack was automatically able to find the webpack.config.js file because it has a special name. It could go through the files and it could find the entry point, the output, and all of the various extensions we want to support. Now, this is not where we end things. There is a reason that we're converting to webpack.config. It's so we can use Babel and React and ES6. We're going to be doing that in the next video. Then we'll finally be ready to take our app.jsx file apart. I'll see you next time.